Hawaii is no stranger to unidentified aerial phenomena, as UAPs have been reported in Hawaii throughout history. Beyond the cool waters and trade winds of our idealistic paradise is the thin veil that separates our world from the place where the shadows talk back. Welcome to Hawaii's most haunted. Whether you call them UFOs or UAPs, Hawaii is no stranger to unexplained lights in the sky. There are documented sightings in Hawaii going back as far as the 1800s. On this episode of Hawaii's Most Haunted, we discuss unexplained aerial phenomena and different examples of strange lights in Hawaii skies. December 2020, multiple witnesses reported observing a bright blue unidentified flying object towering above the island of Oahu in Hawaii. The incident garnered the attention of news outlets, and there are multiple videos of what appears to be a luminous blue object flying slowly in the sky before descending and apparently entering the ocean's waters. The sighting sparked public curiosity and speculation, leading to discussions and inquiries about the nature and origin of mysterious objects. Witnesses reported observing the UFO's strange movement and its subsequent disappearance into the ocean, generating theories and questions about possible explanations for the event. Some witnesses stated that they contacted the Honolulu Police Department, but officials said they had no information about what it could be. Meanwhile, officials at the FAA stated that they received reports from the police about a possible plane down in the area, but had no aircraft disappear off radar, and no reports of overdue or missing aircraft. Despite the significant public interest and reports from eyewitnesses, the exact nature or cause of the phenomena remained unexplained. Hawaii is no stranger to unidentified aerial phenomena, as UAPs have been reported in Hawaii throughout history. In the 1800s, Hawaii was undergoing significant social and political changes due to increased contact with Western explorers and traders. While historical records of UAP sightings during the period might be scarce, anecdotal accounts or oral traditions within Hawaiian culture might contain references to unexplained aerial phenomena. As Hawaii transitioned from oral traditions to written history, reports of UFOs or UAP began to surface more prominently. In 1886, the captain of the steamship, James I. Dowsett, confirmed what other people witnessed by stating he too saw the strange lights in the Molokai Channel off North Maui. On one occasion, the steamer Mukuli was reported off the starboard bow at night. But when the Dowsett approached the light, it suddenly disappeared. On another occasion, all hands were watching a strange light, as clear and as plain as could be, very close to their ship, and all of a sudden it vanished and was seen no more. One night in 1904, some Japanese fishermen were arranging their nets just off of Waikiki, facing John Ina's property. This is the area where the Hilton Hawaiian Village is now located. From the boat, they saw what they described as a ball of fire, bluish in color, of great intensity. It appears suddenly at the Diamond Head side of Waikiki, near the castle property, which is now the Outrigger Canoe Club. For an instant, it oscillated, and then shot forward in the direction of Honolulu Harbor, just skimming the surface of the water. It seemed to pass with the speed of an express train, and grew in size as its momentum increased. For about half a mile, it shot along and then suddenly stopped at a place where the Japanese fishermen know a deep hole exists. For an instant, it hovered there, and again took up its flight toward the city. The ball stopped again over a place which is also said to be quite deep. For 4 or 5 minutes, the ball, now grown to be about 2 feet in diameter and of great brilliancy, remained posed as if uncertain as to its next flight. Then it started out for shore, its size dwindling gradually as it neared the beach. Then it shot out toward the sea and was seemingly swallowed up in the depths of the ocean. One of the Japanese men was certain that the blue light could not be that of a boat, nor a light created by a man. All of the Japanese men that were witness to this anomaly firmly believed That ball of fire was the ghost of a fellow fisherman, visiting the locations over which he had often stopped his boat, searching for fish. In August of 1908, the officers of the USS Justin reported an unexplainable event that left them wondering whether they were visited by a flying ghost or whether they were simply dreaming. One of the officers stated that when the Justin was between Cocoa Head and Diamond Head, he and his fellow officers distinctly saw a vessel approaching them. While they were adjusting glasses to identify the vessel, the blue light disappeared and they were confronted by red lights. The night was dark and the mysterious lights could be seen very clearly. The Justin steered directly toward the place where the lights were burning, but by the great surprise of the officers, the lights disappeared. The identity of the strange vessel was never discovered, although all possible attempts were made, which left the officers all the more anxious to know what the mystery vessel was and where it went. By 1910, flying machines had made their way to Hawaii with the Curtiss Aircraft Company, who brought aircrafts and pilots to show the people of Hawaii the latest marvels of aeronautical inventions. The people looked forward to witnessing the daredevil aviators soaring through the skies of Hawaii. Though there were a number of demonstrations of flying machines, since that time the first known night flight over Oahu wouldn't come for another decade, leaving eyewitnesses still wondering about the strange lights in the sky. On the Big Island, the people of Laupahoehoe were mystified by the appearance of a cluster of lights that appeared about 15 miles off the shore over the span of several nights. In September 1917, the manager of Laupahoehoe's store stated that the lights appeared above the surface of the water over a distance of about 10 miles in width, and were so numerous as to make it appear as though one were looking directly at a small town across the waters. They seemed to disappear for a moment or so, and then again reappear. The people of Laupahoehoe had come to look upon the mysterious lights as an evening pastime, and were at a complete loss to understand the strange lights. They extended along a line of 10 miles and seemed to remain stationary until they apparently disappeared quite as suddenly as they appeared. A month later, in October of that year, two strange lights appearing about 2,000 feet in the air directly over the upper edge of Waiakea Plantation caused considerable excitement. When the lights were first spotted, they were taken for kites, but when the elevation and peculiar movements were observed, the kite idea vanished. The light appeared to be about 10 feet square, while the other appeared about half the size. They were first seen traveling in a straight line toward the mountain. The smaller light, about 100 feet behind the larger one, circling around the large light and seeming to attack it from every angle. The small light flitted for at least 5 minutes when it settled down along the side of the main light, and together they both seemed to set out across the land in direction of Ka'u. Quite a number of people witnessed the sight and seemed to have been satisfied with the idea that although there were no aircrafts on the Big Island, the lights must have been flying machines from some ship at sea. Although there were a number of naval vessels now carrying aircraft, the first successful trans-Pacific flight was not until 1927, when two U.S. Army Air Corps aviators, Lieutenants Lester Maitland and Albert Hagenberger, flew from Oakland, California to Wheeler Field on Oahu. Since then, lights seen at night were often assumed to be aircraft practicing night maneuvers. The mid-20th century, particularly the 1950s and 1960s, saw a surge in UFO, UAP interest globally, and Hawaii was no exception. Increased military activities, technological advancements, and cultural influences contributed to the heightened awareness and reports of unidentified aerial sightings. In 1950, the manager of Hawaiian canneries and several other eyewitnesses reported seeing an unidentified aerial object from the Kapa'a coast. Noted in Project Blue Book, the manager's statement reads, "At 7:25 p.m. local time, Saturday, October 7th, 1950, I observed a luminous object across the sky in the south to north direction, starting about 20 degrees above the horizon in the direction of Ahukini, and when last seen was about 30 degrees above the horizon in the direction of Anahola. When in its course, it was above Kapa'a, decreasing in size as it moved towards Anahola, where it was last seen, disappearing into or above high cumulus clouds. The object was circular in shape with indefinite edges and glowed with a soft luminous white light. At first, it was thought to be a shooting star, but this was discounted by the fact that it seemed to maintain a level flight at an even rate of speed. 3 months later, in January, Kauai County officials viewed what was described as a silvery disk from the window of the county chairman's office. Witnesses included the county chairman, the supervisor, county engineer, 2 police officers, and the chairman's clerk. The observers all agreed that visibility was excellent and that the silvery object appeared against the blue of the sky. It hovered for a few minutes and then started moving again and was soon lost in a cloud formation. The newspaper states that this was the third report of flying discs over Kauai since Christmas Eve of that year. This report is also listed in Project Blue Book. In 1952, 2 flying saucers were observed in the skies over Lanai. The pair of gold discs were watched by 40 crewmen of a U.S. Navy submarine resting in the Oahu Channel. The crew had 15 pairs of binoculars among them as they watched the strange lights pass in tight formation over Molokai, then Oahu, and finally disappear off into space. The men reported that the altitude was too high to get an estimate of speed. 1955 brought news of strange events on Saddle Road on the Big Island about ghosts and mysterious lights. It started with a family who spent the weekend visiting relatives in Hilo. Around 2 a.m., the family piled into the 1935 Ford pickup truck and set off on Saddle Road to return to their home in Waikiki. The truck's passenger side window was missing, and it was covered with a tarpaulin to keep the chill out. The night was clear with no wind, and they were traveling at a normal speed when what seemed to be sharp gusts of wind pushed the tarp inward. When the missus tried to push the tarp out, a force seemed to push her back. After it happened again, the husband reached over to try pushing the tarp out, but he was unable to do so. He said it was nothing like erratic buffering of the wind. He felt a solid weight against the tarp. Suddenly, something unseen began tapping against the roof of the truck. As the tapping started to move around the outside of the vehicle, the frightened husband decided to return to Hilo. As he tried to turn the truck around, he could feel a force tipping it, even when they weren't moving. After traveling about 350 feet towards Hilo, they spotted 2 lights about 500 feet away heading towards them. They thought it was a vehicle, but the lights suddenly disappeared. There were no crossroads in the area, and as they passed the spot where the lights had been, they saw no other vehicles. As they traveled further down the road, they suddenly saw 2 red lights ahead of them, and they assumed those were taillights of another vehicle. However, as the husband sped up, the red lights also disappeared. Again, no crossroads for a vehicle to turn, and he swears it was not the case of a vehicle outdistancing him. Just a little over a week later, in February, 5 school and county officials were returning to Hilo from a meeting in Kona and decided to travel the Saddle Road. Riding in 2 cars, they compared notes afterward, confirming their separate impressions. They saw 2 yellowish red lights glowing dully. The lights did not project a beam like headlights of a vehicle would. They ruled out a reflection because of the constant unchanging glow. Many people took the events to be Pele's warnings of a volcanic eruption, which did happen on February 28, 1955. Then in March, a group of 4 traveling on Kapoho Road in Puna said they saw a pair of lights ahead of them. Each of the 4 occupants of the car confirmed that the lights did not look like akualele, the fireballs of legend, and the lights were too big to be the eyes of an animal. The lights were described as 2 bright bluish white beams set on an even plane. They were said to be dancing, erratically, coming toward them and not following a straight line. The driver noticed what appeared to be the shapeless black mass behind the beams as the lights passed them. It made no noise. One occupant in the car said he whipped out a flashlight to get a better look, but even with the light directed at the mass, it was indistinguishable. Over the next few years, eyewitness accounts of mysterious lights continued in Saddle Road, Puna, and Pahua areas. Many people attributed the lights as signs of another eruption, or even a kualele. But those who witnessed the lights were unconvinced that it had anything to do with local legend. Some residents have seen them so often that they were no longer impressed and began to think about scientific explanations for the strange lights in the skies. In Lahaina, a woman reported seeing an object the size of a quarter hovering over the ocean in January 1956. The light was like a bright orange flame. It gave off a muffled roar, headed fast toward the island from a distance, then slowing to a hover. It once seemed to go back into a valley on Molokai and back out again, stopping once more to hover. Eventually, the object faded in the distance. There have been a great number of eyewitness accounts of flying objects all around Hawaii over the years, and Hawaii continues to be a hotspot for UAP reports. The island's diverse ecosystems, clear skies, and minimal light pollution provide optimal conditions for observing the night sky. Increased public awareness, along with advancements in technology, facilitated the documentation and sharing of sightings among enthusiasts and researchers. In 2021, 2 videos were posted to YouTube showing a swarm of unidentified objects flying together over the ocean. The video was taken by my friend of Karmic Designs, whose YouTube channel is Karmic Land. The time-lapse videos are taken from a beach in Maili on the Waianae coast, facing Kauai. In the first video, we see the afternoon sky with the sun set low near the bottom of the screen and palm trees framing the view. As the sun sets, we see the sky get darker, turning shades of lavender, violet, blue, and navy. Then we see the stars come out. We begin to see the lights of aircraft flying to and fro. The video of the Hawaiian sunset is absolutely beautiful in itself, but then, at about 1 minute and 20 seconds, you see several lights come from the right side of the screen. The lights gather in one area of the sky, hover for a bit near the center of the screen, and then travel in a line towards the upper right corner until they're out of view. The photographer who regularly posts beautiful Hawaiian sunset and sky videos wasn't sure what to make of the strange lights and posted it to his YouTube channel, where it's been shared and embedded by dozens of UAP and UFO enthusiasts. We don't claim to know what the lights are, and we don't assume anything. Some people have tried to explain them away by calling them fakes, or stating that the lights have to be balloons, birds, insects, or drones. But honestly, no one can say for sure what they are. So, until someone can prove what they are, and can recreate the event by man-made means, they'll still be unidentified aerial phenomena. The mystery surrounding UFOs and UAPs is a hot topic of discussion, whether one believes in them or not. Thousands of incidents have been reported over the years. However, despite numerous reports, many sightings remain unexplained, contributing to the ongoing debates about the nature and origin of these phenomena.